Hello and welcome dear learners to the NPTEL course on Healthcare Quality Management, Infection Control and Patient Safety. In the Module 5, Operational Excellence in Healthcare, in Chapter 49, Strategic Planning for Patient Safety Part 1, we will be dealing with processes starting with a functional program, infection risk assessment and control. So, in this particular figure, the planning for patient safety is shown. The hospital, a crucible of convergence. So, you can see that this unique hazard environment where you find lot of involvement of advanced technology and hazards and critical support infrastructure being seen over here, and even a diverse access population, a mitigating barrier, appropriate architectural design, engineering services and interior planning, and a vulnerable human state. What we are more concentrated on is about the diseases, its complications, the anxiety behind it, the immunocompromised patient, and then the involvement of all this. So when we are thinking of patient safety, you need to even start up making like how we need to plan for patient safety and to identify hospital as a place where it deals with lot of issues. So what are the examples of patient safety hazards when it comes to healthcare hospital? You can see that a patient jumps to their death from an open window. A neonate is charged to death in a fire and another arthritis. An incision was wasted merely because the X-ray films were inadvertently flipped. A patient dies after being administered an overdose. A patient is reported post-surgery but constrains methicillin resistance Staphylococcus aureus and he dies. A baby is kidnapped from hospital. An Alzheimer's patient walks out and is lost in the city crowd. A patient on a ventilator dies following a short circuit and resultant power failure. There are real hazards that healthcare facilities face day in and day out. And these are not only the list of the examples of patient safety, but many such as where you can find that a lot of issues dealing with patient safety may come very inevitable. Patient safety is the absence of preventable harm to a patient during the process of healthcare. The patient safety can be a function of infrastructure or operations, but is usually a combination of both. Evidence-based design criteria help design safe and patient-centric healthcare facilities. Infrastructure criteria spans from architecture, engineering, and interiors. It is imperative to address this at the inception of the planning. We are more talking about the planning, and planning is where it is more a combination of all this. Operations are more complex because they encompass clinical care and facility management. So this is the next step where we have to take ahead for patient safety. Extent of preventable harm. So according to WHO, 1 in every patient is exposed to an avoidable and preventable lapse in safety, and rates are higher in developing countries. All the patients are potentially exposed to infection, fire and equipment misuse. So you may come across a lot of incidences which are happening towards this. Infection related data as stated in US, an estimated 1.7 million healthcare associated infections which you called as a hospital acquired infection occur every year, which are leading to 99,000 deaths annually. And this is the data which is a very less. It can be seen in other countries, and if you accumulate it, it can be a much more in number. So what is the role of design in the philosophy that you have to take ahead for planning in patient safety? So building, assaults, falls, infections, diseases, fire and other events figure among the causes of preventable harm. Facility design can significantly mitigate these events. All these events what has listed can be mitigated with the help of a good facility design. So most of the challenges can be reduced if a design improvement is emphasized early, architectural outcomes are counted appropriately, and infection control, which is one of the most effective areas where the design has an impact, is one which we can be seen in. Although infection control is largely a clinical issue, facility design has an important role in it. What can facility do for this? Facility design is responsible for 8 to 10% of the adverse health outcomes. All the noticeable adverse health outcomes with the facility designs improper or not good, it may lead to major issues. So no document can serve an exhaustive companion of all the safety measures, but yes, you can say that with the improvement of the facility design, you can work on this problem. Some of the key processes and departments are therefore highlighted to provide a glimpse of what can be done to reduce the death and disabilities attributed to design inadequacies. Now, we'll be studying on processes starting with a functional program. So this forms the foundation of any healthcare facility design, where a design effort without a functional program results in inadequate understanding of the service requirement, inadequate understanding of the magnitude of the services. So documentation begins with the articulation of a large organizational vision as envisaged by the planners. Contents of a functional program, that is departmental activity description, key operational premises, case loads, journey and layout planning, agendas, and facility design commentary. What is the importance of functional program? Skipping this step can result in failure to satisfy your users or your patients. Worse outcomes during the execution phase can be led. Vertical course must allow safe egress, meet National Building Code Part 4 fire safety norm, which is very important, and vertical transport elements like stairs, ramps, fire lifts, they must be adequate to evacuate all occupants safely when the hazard happens. Compartmentalization. Internal fire compartmentation makes building very safe. Each block of 50 square meter should be segregated from adjacent zone. Doors with fire rating more than 1 hour practically achieved at the design stage. Now we'll be discussing on infection risk assessment and control. Infection risk assessment and control is identified and account for patient population at risk, pathways patient make with exposure routes to contact and airborne risk. So infection control is achieved through coordinated activity, which are the interventions which are across the design, execution and operational stage of a healthcare facility. So you need to consider the design at first, the execution and then the operational different stages. So if you take the design stage, infection control planning. So you need to talk about the infection control planning with your staff. You need to have a plan. So what is the infection control plan? Infection control at a design stage plans with multiple domains, which include overall design, interior finishes, HVAC, that is heat, ventilation and air conditioning systems, and plumbing infrastructure. These all those sound very infrastructure related issues but play a major role in infection control. Each of these elements must be planned in an integrated manner to reduce the infection risk. We are talking here to reduce the risk and rather not only facing the risk afterward, that is more a clinical part. What are the zoning and barrier planning? Effective zoning, as you know, is best achieved through barrier design, which is combined with adoption of universal precautions. Universal precautions are taken from larger aspects which are taught globally. So zoning helps separate clean, semi-clean and contaminated area to limit the cross infection, where you can make barriers actually to come across actually this critical issue. Proper zoning plays a critical role in reducing the contact and airborne transmission risk. So what is a hand hygiene infrastructure? Do we need to think about hand hygiene infrastructure as such? Yes, hand hygiene deals with major of those problems which comes from proper stations. So hand wash station must be provided at strategic location throughout the facility. Where are these locations to be? The location should ensure easy accessibility and visibility to encourage the regular use by them. By whom? It is by the caregivers and by the healthcare staff. There is a strong correlation between hand hygiene practices and patient safety outcomes. Wash stations and double showers through often overlooked are an important design consideration in infection control planning. Now, what is the isolation problem? So, isolation planning is something a program stage. The number of locations of isolation room must be clearly established. You need to understand the importance of the isolation room, which will provide you a type of isolation that is called as protective and a combined isolation. Proper isolation planning helps to maintain that you contain the infections and you protect the vulnerable patients from this. And this is how you can meet the issue of major patient safety with relation to infection. HVAC and airborne infection control. As we have seen that heat, ventilation, air and HVAC system must be designed to control the airborne infections effectively. As we come across HVAC system which are developed and designed nowadays are tackling the airborne infections, which is very important for those patients who are found to be very vulnerable. ASHRAE 170 2008 standard should be followed for healthcare ventilation. So the clinical parameters which include for this are more like a temperature control, relative humidity and air changes per hour. Air filtration plays a significant role in reducing the airborne pathogens, which are very important and sometimes very difficult to tackle. So now it is water and plumbing design to be thought for. So air distribution system must be designed to inhibit fungal growth such as Aspergillus. Water distribution system must prevent the growth of Legionella and other waterborne pathogens which are very difficult to tackle. Plumbing design should discourage static water storages, particularly in hemodialysis supply lines, to reduce microbial contamination, which is very important for those patients who are on dialysis. And if there is a proper design made for the static water storage, it deals with major problems to be solved. Now in the execution stage, we will see the construction and installation controls. Construction practices must ensure that all the distribution systems are executed under clean and controlled conditions. The infection control considerations must continue throughout the construction phase, not only during the design. Copper piping and medical gas system must be thoroughly cleaned before commissioning and continuously purged with nitrogen or inert gases. Why it should be? It should ensure that no residue remains inside the pipelines and no burrs or contaminants are left that could compromise the patient safety issue, which becomes very difficult to tackle in the further stage. Now at the operational stage, where we need to emphasize more on monitoring and maintenance, the system monitoring continues of system which is found to be essential to ascertain compliance with original design parameters. Without this regular monitoring, even well-designed systems fail. They fail to deliver intended safety outcomes. With respect to differential pressure rooms, which should be ideally be equipped with pressure differential monitors, and they need not to be mandatory much monitoring over here, as it is highly beneficial. In the absence of monitoring, the purpose of differential pressure is lost and patient become more susceptible to infections. So monitoring plays a very important role over here. Water quality monitoring. So water system must be tested regularly, and it is one an objective that we need to keep it up to understand the absence of bacterial contamination, and continued patient safety will be assured if your water is tested regularly. Automated and manual monitoring system. This helps to ensure consistent compliance with infection control requirement. Where automated systems are not available, elementary tools such as flutter strips may be used. All monitoring data must be recorded and reviewed regularly. So regular documentation support accountability and early detections of the system to catch up from the system failures. So with this, we come an end to the discussion of this chapter, and we are making ahead to you for the planning purposes, and in the further chapters it will be dealt more in detail of understanding of the importance of patient safety and proving you for the operational excellence in the healthcare. So with this, thank you for the day.